What's up, everybody? My name is Richard Dolan. I am the global head of all things Grant Cardone licensing. That means the man, the myth, the legend who does all things 10X, the champion for the cause and the ambassador for that mandate, the author, the great speaker, the man who's done so much for millions of people around the world. He does it because he's got himself an army. And that army is comprised of people we've come to call licensees. That's right, Grant Cardone licensees. Now finding one ain't easy. I mean, we've only got just over 200 around the world, and with over 27 million people following Grant Cardone today, that's right, 27 million collectively across all social media handles, from Instagram to Facebook to Twitter and all the other wonderful things. It's hard to find one of his champions of the cause and ambassadors for his mission. But we're joined here right now with a very cool Grant Cardone licensee, one of the first, if not the first. And that's not suggesting that he's old, but he's been around for quite some time, and he's a dear friend and a champion that Grant likes to call a friend of the firm. It's good to see you, Mr. Tom Alston. How are you, sir?
How you doing, Richie?
It's good to see you, man, as always. Now, listen, Tom, this conversation's about you and what you've done, because in all the time you've been a licensee, you became one not just because you were a student of what we come to call Cardone U. You became one not just because you love who Grant is and for what he stands for. You became one not just because of what the 10X movement represents and how things should be, in fact, be at the source for people, meaning 10Xing their lives, 10Xing their leadership, 10Xing their results. But for you, in the industry that you really champion and stand for, it's a unique one. Tell us about the business you're in.
I have a specialty business, or a better word is a niche business. I call it a very vertical piece of a very vertical market, which, standing back and looking at it now, I wish I'd have gone wider, but this is what we do. I help people legally avoid paying California sales or use tax on any purchases of an aircraft, vessel, or vehicle.
So that's unique. I mean, who doesn't want to save money? And especially the wealthy. You know, I'm no stranger to the world of money, wealth, and worth. That's been my background. And for the time I've been working with Grant, I've come to really appreciate a lot of the thought leadership that goes into making money. You start by saving money. And it sounds like you're an expert in that space. You've got some professional prowess in that space. So, in the time that you've been doing this, how long have you been doing that for? Saving the taxes on these large purchases by those in the world of aviation?
Since the mid 90s, I kind of created this concept while I was working with someone else, and we later disconnected. I started the business I have now, which is Aero Marine Tax Professionals, in 2002. So 18 years at this business.
And do you have a total, a running tab? Do you have a scoreboard that says to date we've saved? It's kind of like the McDonald's run. You know, we serve now 25 or 50 billion burgers. Do you have a total?
I remember that on the arches when I was a kid and pulled into the first McDonald's in Sacramento, California. Yes. Up to date, I've done over 1,700 of these cases. And as long as you hire us before you take possession and you follow all of my instructions, not one of my clients has ever paid a dime in tax. We always win.
What a brand promise. I mean, you spend tens of millions of dollars on this craft. You've worked all your life, if not worked damn hard to get it. But if following your proprietary system, something that you've uniquely done since the 90s, you pretty much can go saving the taxes, so to afford the very maintenance or gas or the cooler things in life that mean more to you. Sounds like a really important and critical business, especially now than ever before. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree completely. In fact, to expound on that subject, we just created in a marketing meeting, one of my guys came up with a term called pay your pilot, not your sales tax. So yes, we put all, I sent, every time we get an exemption for somebody, I broadcast out to the world the dollars. And we just recently saved a guy $6.2 million in tax. Now,
wow.
You're not going to save $6.2 million if you don't spend close to 70 million, but it can be done, and we do it. And we know that people on the top end of the purchasing price of aircraft, that we're going to save them a lot more money than the guy who spends $100,000 on an aircraft, but the percentages are the same, and we always win regardless of whether they're small or big.
Well, look, regardless of what part of the hierarchy people are spending, whether it's $100 million on an aircraft or $5 million on an aircraft, saving money means something to everybody. But times have changed.
Yeah.
I mean, what we've got right now is an unusual time in the history of mankind. I mean, we've got this pandemic, and whether you believe in the virus, whether you've named it Corona or COVID-19, which it's more, I think, widespreadly known as, whether you believe in the mask or even if its existence is there, no matter what you see, the reality is that this is not business as usual. It's business unusual. Tell us about the current state that the aviation industry is in right now from your perspective, Tom.
Well, whether it's commercial airlines, which I do not deal with, or private aviation, one of the problems has always been government control. It's also the solution to most of the problems. But secondarily, when the government decided to put this lockdown in place and travel restrictions, it created a big problem, which created fear, which generally on this planet, it causes people to retract. And I can tell you that for the first couple of months when it happened in my business, our sales were off 80 or 90%, which to most people, to most people that would put you out of business. I just decided that I needed to up my efforts and push out harder and disagree with the situation as I perceived it. And, as we move closer to the end of 2020, it's been a very successful step. And I want all the people in the aviation industry to have the same effect.
Well, that opens up the big conversation, which is, you spend all these years on saving people money. Now it sounds like there's not just a pivot, but an expansion in what you do. In the conversations that we've had, and for anyone watching this video, this is where it gets really interesting. You see, from what my perspective is that given what you've been doing, Tom, following your proprietary process on saving money for those who purchase private aircraft, you now realize that the industry needs to restore its financial performance in the world of sales. People who were about to buy and stopped, people who were starting to look but pause, people who were expanding their fleet and or considering to upgrade and just stalled in mid-conversation. Tell us, Tom, why is it important to you to be the lever, to be the source for those who are in the industry of selling aviation goods, why you can help them restore their sales performance?
Well, I've got to answer that by telling you a story. I got connected to a guy named Grant Cardone back in 2016, and I immediately connected to his message and his methods. And I signed up as an individual on Cardone U, and I started doing the training on Cardone U. And then I realized, wait a minute, I have employees. They should all be on Cardone U. So I put them on Cardone U. And it's in my business, it raised the whole level of confidence and awareness in my whole company just by doing these segments or these training sessions or video classes, whatever you want to call them, in Cardone U. And I realized that part of my mission when I originally bought this license was to improve the sales ability of anyone attempting to sell airplanes in the whole aviation industry. And I didn't limit it to just California people, on the whole planet, because first of all, I tried the system myself. I liked it. I applied it to my employees. I got benefits. The sales went up. And so what I wanted to do is to push this technology or push people into the training on the whole planet, because I know the solution to economic problems is more sales, and more sales is more training. And I mean, it's logical to me to do it this way.
No, it's so true. I mean, Grant has always said that if you've got a sales challenge, get moving, because the faster you move, the less likely those problems will stick. And I mean, you're no stranger to what it takes to learn in Cardone U, to understand the sales practices that Grant teaches, and really apply them in an industry that may not have a widespread access to cutting edge sales technology on how to prospect, work the power base, get unstuck, come out of obscurity, to start playing big, or just simply do the hard work So that brings us to why you've launched an initiative that I'm really excited about, which we've come to call Cardone Aviation. Whether we call it a project or it's the name of the file or it's just the absolute mission, you as a licensed representative for Grant Cardone's IP, his intellectual properties, his genius, his magic, his stuff, you're going to champion Cardone Aviation. So what problem does Cardone Aviation solve in the industry right now, Tom?
Well, the quick answer is, what problem doesn't it solve? If someone can tell me what their problems are with my vast experience in the aviation industry and a really in-depth experience in Cardone U, there's a solution. One of these training programs or one of these segments, or just staying connected with people who are in the business of solving problems. And that's really what Cardone U will teach people to do, is to solve problems.
Well, and listen, I mean, you've been in the aviation business since the Wright brothers first launched that first model. I mean, you've been in the industry.
You saw me in the pictures, right?
I saw you in the picture. I saw you pushing it. And but with all kidding aside, because I've got nothing but love and respect for you, what I'm so delighted to hear is that as you've got this intention, this initiative, this mission called Cardone Aviation, you're someone who's had decades of experience working within the aviation industry. You've come across billions of dollars in transactions, so you know what it means to be at the source of success. You've also been on the other side of the transactions, helping the buyers, understanding their motivations, their drive and desires to save more money. So you've got that vantage point that most don't. But here you are in the middle of a pandemic, the first of its kind, probably in both our lifetimes, and we'll likely not experience it another one in the same lifetime. We hope.
We hope.
We hope. But with that being said, it sounds to me that through education, through coaching, through mentorship, and all the other professional prowess points that you've got, you can help anybody in the aviation industry restore sales, recover files, gain and get more referrals, and in fact, get back to where sales once were. Would that all be accurate in saying, Tom?
Well, you only left out one thing, which has now moved to the top of the list. It's the solution to the economic suppression. If every person, if you're just say a solopreneur, and you to think, well, I don't need to go to a university, I know how to do it all. Just expand your business a little bit and hire one person. If there's 31 million small businesses in the United States. 25 million of them have only one employee, which means by definition, they're solopreneurs. If every one of those businesses would hire one person, we've solved unemployment in the United States. So it's become the pandemic has created a bigger goal for me. Although my background is in the aviation industry and in the vessel industry and the tax industry, it really doesn't matter. Whatever problem someone's having in their business, and if you're not aware that you have a business, you can call me and I'll debrief you on it. And you may have some hidden thing that's kind of holding you back. Cardone U is going to bring you out of it. I promise it. I've experienced it myself. I know a lot of people that have experienced, and I communicate with the group of licensees, the Cardone licensees around the world. We're together probably 3 times a week. Cardone U is the solution to the economic suppression on planet Earth. And I really, really believe that. So even though I'm created this whole thing in this Cardone Aviation with a viewpoint towards expanding the sales and making things go quicker and making businesses better and making the training processes easier for everyone, it's now become a bigger deal to me. It's called solving the economic problems of planet Earth. And so, my purpose has just been moved up a notch.
Well, that's big. I mean, anyone can, lift the sale of a store. And anyone can actually take a look and say, why don't we go and recover some of those files? But it sounds to me, as we wind this conversation down for our viewers, that you're taking on the entire industry for the sake of the United States of America to say, it's time to recover what we've lost. It's time to restore the financial performance we once had pre-pandemic. And it's time for us to really do so with power and with haste and with ease, so that through education, through Cardone U and our digital learning platforms, through good old fashioned coaching, mentorship, but more importantly, structures and systems, which you, Tom, have devised, it sounds to me that your commitment, your promise to anyone that's in the sales business of aviation, machinery, works, and or vehicles, you can help them get to where they got to go with the ideology that you've been an incredible student and an ambassador for. Would you agree?
Of course I do. And not only do I agree, I guarantee it.
Fantastic. Hey, Tom Olson, man, I'm in your corner. I'm championing you. We appreciate you on behalf of Grant Cardone and all things Cardone licensing. We want to thank you for watching this video, introducing you to our dear friend, Tom Olson, a fellow Grant Cardone licensee, where together we are going to globally dominate every single sales goal you've got, starting with you. Let's go.
Let's do it. And my phone number is 916-691-9192. And find out why people tell you, call Tom.
Tom's our guy. Go get it, Tom. Get it done.
Awesome.